The forest that spoke his name. Jack Reimer was not afraid of alien planets. He had visited 10 of them. He had walked on ice moons, red deserts, and floating islands. But this planet felt different. The sky was always dark purple. The air was cold but not freezing. And the trees, they didn't look normal. They had silver bark and blue leaves that shimmered, even when there was no wind. Jack had one job. He was sent by the Earth Exploration Corps to study the Whispering Woods. Locals had warned him. "Don't go there," they said. "People go missing," they whispered. "The trees remember everything," one old alien added, her voice shaking. But Jack didn't believe in ghost stories. He was a scientist. He trusted facts. So, with his backpack, scanner, and camera, he walked into the forest alone. At first, it was peaceful. The ground was soft, covered in glowing moss. Strange flowers opened when he walked near them. Birds with long tails flew above. It was beautiful. Then the whispers started. He froze. It was faint, like wind, but it wasn't wind. It sounded like voices, dozens of them. They spoke in a language he couldn't understand. But one word, one name, came through clearly. Jack. His blood turned cold. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer. He turned slowly. Trees stood tall around him. They looked like giants watching him. The air grew still. Too still. Jack took a deep breath. "It's just my mind playing tricks," he told himself. He walked deeper. The deeper he went, the louder the whispers became. But something else was happening too. The trees were moving. Not fast, just slightly. Branches bent toward him. Leaves rustled when he passed. Once, he swore a tree shifted away when he touched it. Then he saw it. A tree taller than all the others. Its bark was gold and silver, wrapped with glowing vines. It pulsed softly, like it had a heartbeat. Jack couldn't look away. Something pulled him toward it, like gravity, but not from the planet. From inside him. He reached out. The moment his fingers touched the bark, a shock ran up his arm. He gasped and pulled back, but it was too late. The tree woke up. A low hum began. The vines on the tree lit up, brighter than before. The bark started to crack, thin lines spreading like spiderwebs. Jack stumbled backward. Then he saw it, a face inside the tree. A woman's face, eyes closed, calm, peaceful. And then, her eyes opened, bright green, glowing. She looked straight at Jack. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The woman opened her mouth, but no words came. Instead, Jack heard her voice inside his head. "Why did you touch me?" he gasped. "What are you?" The tree cracked more. Bark fell away like old skin. The woman was not just a face now. Her shoulders appeared, her arms, her body wrapped in smooth, bark-like skin. Vines unwrapped her gently, like they were letting her go. The forest fell silent. Even the whispers stopped. Jack stepped back again. His scanner beeped wildly, then shut off. No signal, no power, just her. She looked at him again. "You are not like the others," her voice said in his mind. "You don't carry the curse." "I don't understand," Jack whispered. Her hand reached out, fingers glowing faintly. Jack hesitated, then stepped closer. Their hands almost touched. Suddenly, the ground shook. A rumble came from deep below. Trees swayed. Animals screamed in the distance. She looked toward the sky. "They're coming," she said. "Who?" Jack asked. She looked at him with sadness. "The ones who trapped me here." Jack's heart pounded. Why would they do that? Her answer was soft, but cold. "Because I loved a human." The shaking grew stronger. Jack turned to run, but something inside him stopped him. He turned back. The woman was stepping out from the tree now, fully free. Her feet touched the mossy ground, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. And then, The trees around them bent low, almost bowing. The forest had a queen again, and Jack had just woken her, the woman in the tree. For a long moment, Jack and the woman just stood there, silent, still, surrounded by trees that no longer whispered. The strange forest, once alive with sound and movement, had grown completely quiet. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Something had changed. Something big. The woman, now fully free from the golden-silver tree, stepped forward slowly. Her movements were light, like she didn't weigh anything at all. Bark-like skin covered her body, smooth and shining. Her long hair looked like flowing vines, dark green with hints of silver. Her eyes still glowed, but softer now, as if they were full of ancient sadness. Jack didn't know whether to run or kneel. "Who are you?" he finally asked, his voice low. The woman didn't answer at first. She looked up at the sky, then to the trees, and finally to Jack. She studied him like she was trying to remember something. Maybe a dream, maybe a face from long ago. "I was called Surya once," she said, her voice echoing inside his head. "That name is old now, like dust in the wind." Jack blinked. "You're speaking in my mind." "I no longer have a voice," she replied. "Only thoughts. That's what they left me with." Jack stepped closer. "Who are they? You said someone trapped you here." Syria lowered her head. "They were my own kind, my own people." Jack's mouth went dry. "Why?" She turned and touched the tree that had once been her prison. The bark that had once wrapped around her body was now dead, cold, crumbling. With a gentle swipe of her fingers, it turned into silver dust and blew away. "Because I chose to love a human," she said at last. "Long ago, in a time your people don't even remember." Jack stared at her. "A human? Here, on this planet?" She nodded slowly. "He came from the stars, just like you." There was silence. Then Syria walked forward, slowly, barefoot across the moss. The forest seemed to move out of her way, branches bending, roots shifting. The trees respected her, or maybe they feared her. Jack followed her. "Where did he go? The human you loved?" She stopped. "They killed him." Jack felt something twist in his chest. "Who? The people who trapped you?" "Yes." Her voice grew darker. "They called our love a threat. They said I had broken the sacred bond between spirit and soil. That I had become corrupted." Jack frowned. "But that doesn't make sense. Why would love be a crime?" Syria looked at him, and for the first time, she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that hid 1,000 years of pain. "They feared what we could become together. My people are tied to this planet. We grow with it, feel it. But he, your kind, you bring change. You dream too loudly. You touch the future like it's already yours." Jack had no reply. She turned away again and walked toward a small stream flowing nearby. When she stepped near it, the water glowed. She knelt beside it, placing her hands in the current. Small orbs of light floated around her like fireflies. Jack slowly sat across from her. He didn't understand everything, but he knew enough. She had been wronged, and now she was free. "Why did I hear my name?" he asked softly. "Before I touched the tree." The forest whispered it. She looked up. "Because your blood remembers mine." Jack's heart skipped. "My? What?" "Your ancestor, the one I loved. His soul has walked through time. Pieces of him live in you." Jack stood, shaking his head. "That's not possible. I'm just a scout. I'm nobody. You are the only one who could free me." Silence again. Then the ground shook. The water in the stream trembled. Birds flew up in a panic. The trees began to whisper again, but not like before. Now it was louder, faster, fearful. Syria stood. Her eyes turned sharp. "They'd felt the change," she said. "They're coming." "Who?" Jack asked, already feeling panic grow inside him. "The ones who cursed me," she said. "The ones who hunt souls tied to earth." Jack pulled out his comm device. "Still dead. We need to get out of here." She shook her head. "They will find me wherever I go. I'm bound to this forest. But you must choose." "Choose what?" "To leave and forget you ever met me, or stay and risk your life for a soul that once dared to love your kind." Jack swallowed. His hands were shaking now. He looked at her. Saraya, the woman who had slept inside a tree for ages, who had spoken his name without ever meeting him, who claimed his blood remembered hers. And somehow, he believed her. "I'm not leaving you," Jack said, his voice stronger now. Saraya stared at him, silent. Then she said the words that made the air around them grow cold. "Then prepare for war, because they are already here. The hunters arrive." The forest wasn't whispering anymore. It was screaming. The wind howled through the trees, but it wasn't natural wind. It came from above, from machines cutting through the sky like knives. Jack looked up through the twisted branches and saw black ships flying low, their engines silent, their shadows cold. Syria's glowing eyes narrowed. "They've found us." Jack's heart pounded. "Who are they?" "They are the wardens," she said. "Guardians of the old law. Killers of memory. They're not here for you, but they'll kill you just the same." The forest trembled beneath their feet. Roots shifted. The trees bent away, trying to protect Syria, but the danger came from the sky now. "They're landing to the north," Jack said, scanning the horizon. "We can still run." Syria shook her head. "There's no time. Once they touch the soil, they'll link with it. They'll know exactly where I am." "Then what do we do?" She looked at him, not with fear, but with a quiet fire in her eyes. "We fight." The wardens touched down like falling shadows. They wore armor made of black stone, covered in silver symbols that glowed faintly. Their faces were hidden behind masks shaped like skulls. No eyes, no mouths, just silence. They moved through the trees without making a sound. Their boots didn't even crush the moss. The lead warden stopped and touched the ground. His fingers lit up as they made contact with the earth. "She's awake," he said. His voice was like wind through dry leaves. Another one stepped forward. "Then we cleansed the forest." They raised their arms. From their armor, streams of red fire exploded, flames that didn't burn like normal fire, but sucked life from anything they touched. Trees collapsed. Flowers turned to ash. The ground cracked open, and the forest screamed again. Jack and Saraya ran. Vines lifted under their feet, helping them move faster. Syria didn't seem tired, even though she had just awakened after centuries of sleep. In fact, she seemed stronger with each step. "What do they want from you?" Jack shouted over the noise. "They fear what I remember," she said. "They fear that if I live, the world will change." "You mean this whole planet?" "No, I mean all worlds." Before Jack could ask more, a beam of red energy exploded nearby, throwing him into the air. He hit the ground hard. His ears rang. When he looked up, he saw a warden walking toward him. The black armor, the glowing runes, the silent mask. Jack tried to crawl backward, but the warden raised a hand, and Jack's body froze. Not just from fear. He was literally paralyzed. "You touched her," the warden said. "Now you must forget." The warden raised his other hand, a blade forming from his palm. But before it could strike, boom! The ground beneath the warden exploded with green light. Vines shot up like snakes, wrapping around the black armor and crushing it like paper. The warden screamed, a terrible, twisting sound that came from his bones, not his throat. Syria stood nearby, her hands glowing, her body surrounded by floating orbs of forest light. She walked forward and spoke, not with her mouth, but through every tree, every root, every drop of water in the air. "This forest is not yours," her voice echoed through the woods. and I am no longer your prisoner. Jack's body unlocked. He could move again. He got up, coughing. "Thanks," he said. "You would have done the same," Syria replied. Jack wasn't sure about that, but he hoped it was true. More wardens approached. 4 of them now. Stronger. Smarter. Syria stepped back. "They're drawing power from the ancient soil. I need time." Jack looked around. There was no one else. No soldiers. No weapons. Just him. He pulled out the small energy tool he used to cut samples. It wasn't made for battle, but it could burn through metal. He looked at Syria. "I'll give you time." Then he ran straight at the wardens. The first one didn't expect it. Jack jumped and slashed at its helmet, sparks flying. "Go back to your starships," Jack yelled. But the warden didn't go back. It hit him hard, throwing him across the forest floor. He hit a tree and coughed up blood. "Jack!" Syria cried out. But Jack smiled, even through the pain. "Now you're angry," he said. The distraction was enough. Syria lifted her hands. The forest answered her. Dozens of trees bent, their branches becoming sharp spears. Roots shot up and dragged the wardens underground. The moss grew thick, rising like waves, and the air itself began to glow. The wardens struggled, but the forest was no longer theirs to command. It was hers. When it was over, the clearing was quiet again. The wardens were gone, buried beneath the earth, crushed by roots, swallowed by soil. Jack lay on the ground, bleeding, but alive. Syria knelt beside him. She placed a hand on his chest. A soft light passed through her fingers, and the pain faded. Not completely, but enough. "You were brave," she said softly. Jack laughed weakly, more like stupid. She tilted her head. "Perhaps, but sometimes the universe listens to fools more than kings." He smiled. "That's a nice saying." "I heard it from a human I once loved," she said. Silence returned between them, but it was not uncomfortable now. It was the silence after a storm, a silence full of new questions. Jack sat up slowly. "So, now what?" Syria looked toward the horizon. The sky above the forest was glowing red. "They know I'm free. The wardens were just the beginning." Jack followed her gaze. "And they'll come for me too, won't they?" "Yes," she said, "because now you carry my mark." Jack looked at his hand. There on his palm was a faint glow, a symbol shaped like a tree with eyes. His fate was no longer his own, and the war was just beginning. The forest fights back. The sky was burning. Not with fire, but with red lines of energy cutting across the heavens like scars. More ships, more machines, more death. Jack and Syria stood at the edge of the clearing, watching black ships hover above the forest. The air felt heavier now, like the whole planet was holding its breath before screaming again. "The wardens failed," Syria said, her voice low. "Now the masters will come." Jack turned to her. "Who are the masters?" Syria's glowing eyes darkened. "The ones who made the laws, who chose to trap me, who believe I'm a threat just for remembering love." Jack swallowed hard. His legs still hurt from the last fight, but the glow on his palm, Syria's mark, kept him going. "We can't outrun ships," he said. "No," Syria agreed, "but we can make them fear the ground they walk on." She knelt beside the earth and placed both hands on the mossy floor. A soft hum started, spreading out like ripples in water. Jack watched in awe as trees bent, flowers opened, and light pulsed from every root and leaf. It was like the forest was waking up. "Are you doing this?" Jack asked. Syria shook her head. "No, I'm asking." The trees began to shift. Roots moved under the soil like snakes. Branches stretched toward the sky. The forest wasn't just plants and wood. It was alive. It remembered pain. It remembered her. And now, it was ready to fight. Far above, in the ships, the masters watched. They were not shaped like humans. Their bodies were thin, covered in stone-like skin with glowing red cracks. Their eyes burned like dying suns. "She has awakened the deep forest," one of them said. "She is merging again," another replied. "The prophecy must not be fulfilled." "Then burn everything," the leader growled. "Let no root remain." Fire rained down. The masters released their weapons, giant black orbs that dropped into the forest like seeds of destruction. The moment they touched the ground, they split open and released waves of red flame that crawled across the earth. Trees caught fire. Animals screamed. The air filled with smoke and sorrow. Jack coughed and covered his mouth. "We have to stop it." Syria stood tall, her hair flying as the wind howled. "We will." She raised her arms, and the forest answered. The trees that weren't burning began to move. Entire trunks pulled themselves from the ground and walked. Roots wrapped around the black orbs, crushing them before they could open. Vines reached into the sky, wrapping around falling bombs and pulling them back up, throwing them at the ships. It wasn't a forest anymore. It was a warrior, a 1,000-year-old soul, angry and awake. Jack ran beside Syria through the chaos. Fires burned on all sides, but the path before them stayed clear, guided by the trees, protected by the forest's will. They reached a giant stone circle hidden deep within the forest. Jack had never seen it before. Syria walked into the center. "This is the heart root," she said. "The oldest part of me." The stone under her feet glowed as she stepped onto it. Her body lit up, brighter than ever. Jack felt a pull, like the forest wanted him to join her. He stepped forward. As soon as he entered the circle, his mark began to glow hotter. Visions rushed into his mind, images he couldn't explain. He saw Syria as a child, playing under golden trees. He saw her laughing with a human man, his face blurred, but his smile familiar. He saw fire, betrayal, chains of light. And then he saw himself standing in this same place, 1,000 years ago. He gasped and fell to one knee. Syria looked at him. "Now you understand. You are not just anyone, Jack. You are the echo of a man I once loved, the one who gave his life to protect mine." Jack's voice shook. "But I don't remember anything." "You don't have to," she said. "Your soul remembers." The sky cracked open with a loud boom. A massive ship, larger than all the others, appeared through the clouds. Its body was dark, smooth, shaped like a coffin. Symbols of ancient laws covered its hull. Syria stepped out of the circle. "They brought the Ark of Silence," she said. "That means they fear us." Jack stood beside her. "Then let's give them something to be afraid of." The ground under the ark began to crack. Syria whispered ancient words. Her voice echoed through the earth. The heart root responded. A beam of green light shot up into the sky, hitting the ship directly. The ark trembled. Parts of its body turned black. Inside, the masters screamed in pain as their link to the soil broke. Their power came from controlling nature, but now nature had a voice again. And that voice belonged to Syria. Trees rose higher. Roots wrapped around falling bombs. Vines grabbed the landing gear of the ships and ripped them apart. But victory came at a cost. Syria fell to her knees. Her glow faded slightly. Her hands shook. Jack caught her. "What's wrong?" "I'm using too much," she said. "I was sealed for too long. My spirit is strong, but my body is still weak." Jack looked around. Fires still burned in the distance. More ships were coming. The forest could not hold forever. "There has to be another way," Jack said. Syria looked at him, eyes full of pain. "There is, but it's dangerous, and it needs you." "Me?" "You carry the mark. You touched the tree. You woke me. That means the forest now hears your voice too." Jack froze. "But I don't know how to do anything." "You don't need to know," she said softly. "You need to feel. Let the forest into you. Let it move through your blood." Jack looked at his hand. The symbol was still glowing. "I'll try," he whispered. He closed his eyes, reached out, and the forest reached back. The hidden city of roots. Darkness, but not the scary kind. This was a warm darkness, a place without pain, a place with heartbeat sounds all around, soft thumps, like drums beneath the earth. Jack opened his eyes. He wasn't in the burning forest anymore. He was deep underground, lying on a glowing bed made of moss and stone. Vines hung above like stars. The walls around him were alive, pulsing gently, as if the earth itself was breathing. Syria stood beside him. Her eyes no longer glowed brightly, but softly, like fading lanterns. "Where are we?" Jack asked, his voice echoing in the still air. "We are in the root core," she said, "the hidden city under the forest. The place no outsider has seen for 10,000 years. Jack slowly sat up. Everywhere he looked, there were strange shapes, spirals, glowing flowers, twisted columns of bark and crystal. Some of them looked like buildings, others like massive tree roots shaped into homes. It was like a dream, except it felt realer than anything he had ever seen. Syria led Jack deeper into the root core. As they walked, small creatures peered at them from behind glowing roots. They had mossy fur, bright yellow eyes, and tiny leaf-like ears. They weren't afraid of Syria. They bowed as she passed. "They remember you," Jack said. "No," Syria whispered. "They remember her." She pointed to the largest root in the center of the underground city. It was the size of a mountain, curled like a sleeping beast, and inside its hollow center was a statue of Syria. She looked exactly the same, tall, elegant, arms raised, eyes closed. Carved into her chest was the same glowing mark Jack had on his palm. "Is that you?" he asked. "It was who I used to be," she said quietly, "before they took everything." Inside the hollow root, old murals lined the walls. Jack looked closer. The pictures told a story. Syria as a child, playing in the sun. Syria standing with others like her, guardians of the forest. Syria meeting a man with brown hair and kind eyes. A human. They stood hand in hand. Syria being pulled away by her people, screaming. Chains. Fire. A glowing tree. And her being sealed inside it. Jack stepped back, shaken. "This is real." "Yes," Syria said. "I once loved someone like you." He believed the universe should not be divided by race or species. He believed love was stronger than fear. Jack turned toward her. "And for that, they buried you alive. They said I had broken sacred laws, that I had chosen a lesser life form. They feared I would give him power over this world." She stepped closer. "But they were wrong. I didn't want to give him power. I only wanted to share what I had." Jack's voice was quiet. "What happened to him?" "They killed him." Her eyes lowered. "And sealed me away before I could even bury him." Jack sat down on a thick root. His hand still glowed. "So why me? Why now?" "Because the bond we made, me and him, it did not end with death. It passed through time, through blood, through stars. You think I'm related to him. I know you are." Jack rubbed his face. "I'm not a hero. I'm not special. I came here to collect samples." Syria smiled gently. He said the same thing. A deep rumble shook the ground. The root core trembled. Pieces of bark fell from above. The creatures hiding in the roots fled deeper into tunnels. Jack stood. "They found us." Syria closed her eyes. "Yes, the masters followed our link. But we're underground. They have machines that can drill through anything. Soon, they'll destroy this place." Jack clenched his fists. "We have to fight again." "No," Syria said. "You must go." "What?" "I'm not leaving you." She placed a hand on his chest. "You carry the mark now. The forest hears your voice. If I fall, the forest will survive through you." "No," Jack backed away. You don't get to choose to die for me. Syria's voice softened. This place is not just roots and soil. It holds the memories of millions. The songs of birds that no longer fly. The breath of winds that no longer blow. It is the last piece of something pure. Jack looked around. At the glowing trees, the whispering walls, the murals, the creatures. He saw life. Real, beautiful, untamed life. And he understood. If they lost this place, it wouldn't just be the end of Syria. It would be the end of something the universe needed. Another quake. This time stronger. The largest root above them cracked. Dust fell. Distant echoes of drilling machines filled the tunnels. Jack turned to Syria. There has to be another way. There is, she said. But you said. There is a gate, she interrupted. Deeper inside, built long ago. It can only be opened by someone with the forest's mark. That's you now. What's beyond it? She hesitated. A power, pure and wild. The last breath of the original tree, the first soul of the planet. Jack's heart pounded. And if I use it? You become more than human, she said, but also less. Jack stared at her. And if I don't use it? Everything dies. They didn't speak for a moment. The city shook again. A wall collapsed nearby. The light dimmed. Jack stepped forward. Show me the gate. Syria looked at him. There was pain in her eyes. And pride. She led him through twisting tunnels until they reached a chamber. Inside stood a giant tree door, covered in glowing vines. In the center of it was the same mark glowing on his palm. Jack reached out and placed his hand on it. The door responded instantly. Roots untangled, the bark opened, and a blinding green light filled the room. Inside the gate was not darkness. It was a storm of life. Floating leaves, golden winds, sparks that looked like stars. A tree that seemed to be made of light itself, its branches touching nothing and everything at once. Jack stepped in, the wind rushing through him. He wasn't scared. He was ready. The tree god awakens. Jack had never seen light like this before. It wasn't like sunlight. It wasn't like fire or electricity. It was something alive. Light that breathed, moved, and watched. The chamber beyond the gate was enormous. It felt bigger than the forest above. The air shimmered, thick with glowing dust that floated like tiny stars. In the center stood a tree, but not just any tree. This one was made of pure energy. Its bark glowed with gold, white, and silver lines that pulsed like veins. Its branches floated in the air, twisting gently through space, never touching anything, as if it existed in a different dimension. Jack stepped forward. He didn't walk on roots or moss. He walked on memories, images playing beneath his feet like ripples in a pond. He saw children laughing in green fields. He saw stars being born. He saw the first seed fall from the sky and strike the ground, becoming the first tree of this planet. He saw a woman, Syria, kneeling before this tree, her hands out, her eyes full of wonder. And then he saw himself. Or maybe it was his ancestor, a man who looked just like him, kneeling beside Syria, touching the tree together. It was not just a source of life. It was a god. The tree god, the first spirit of this planet, the one Syria's people had buried, the one they feared most, because it loved too deeply, because it gave life too freely, because it didn't choose sides. Jack felt a warm pressure in his chest. The mark on his palm began to burn, but it wasn't pain. It was a pull, a calling. The tree wanted him. Not to destroy, not to control, but to merge. He stepped closer. What will happen to me? He asked aloud. The tree didn't speak with words. It answered with feelings. A wave of peace, a wave of sorrow, a memory of Syria crying, trapped inside bark, calling for help through the roots of the world. He reached out. The moment his hand touched the tree, the light exploded. Up above, in the dying forest, the ground shook violently. Syria fell to her knees. Her connection to the earth suddenly lit up like fire. The trees cried out. The moss glowed brighter than ever. The animals froze. Deep beneath their feet, the tree god had awakened. The masters, still drilling toward the root core, stopped in confusion. One of them turned to the others. The energy signature. It's too strong. Another backed away. This cannot be. The seed of origin has merged. Their leader shouted, "Seal the gate," before the merge completes. But it was too late. The entire forest began to change. Back in the chamber, Jack couldn't feel his own body anymore. He had become part of the tree. His memories were not alone now. He saw the past, all of it. He saw Syria's people rising from the soil, born of roots and light. He saw them grow proud, creating laws, building temples, silencing voices that loved too much. He saw how the masters had twisted the sacred teachings, turning peace into punishment. He saw himself, his own soul, returning again and again, always searching for her. And now, he was whole. When Jack opened his eyes, they were not human anymore. They glowed with green fire, and patterns of vines ran across his skin like tattoos. His voice echoed with power when he spoke. "I am not the chosen one. I am the reminder." The tree pulsed behind him, and a single seed dropped into his hand, the final seed of the tree god. With it, he could restore the planet, or destroy everything. He walked out of the chamber. The gate behind him closed on its own, the roots sealing shut like a heartbeat. Syria waited at the edge of the root core, weak but alive. She saw him, and her breath caught. "You?" "Merged." Jack nodded. Syria took a shaky step forward. "Do you remember me now?" He looked at her, not just with human eyes, but with the tree god's memory behind them. "I never forgot," he whispered. She fell into his arms, tears in her eyes. "I thought you were gone forever." "I came back," he said softly, "like I always promised." Above, the earth cracked open. The largest ship, the Ark of Silence, descended lower, preparing to fire its final weapon. The Seed Eater, a machine built to burn forests down to dust and erase all memory from soil. The masters prepared to strike. But then, the trees moved. All the trees. Even the burnt ones. Even the old ones. Even the ones the masters thought were dead. They rose, bent, twisted, and fought back. Vines shot into the sky, wrapping around the ark. Roots tore open the earth, shaking the massive ship from below. The sky turned green as clouds of glowing pollen rose upward, blinding the enemy's eyes, jamming their machines. Jack stepped out from the root core and raised the final seed. The ground beneath him rose into a platform. Every tree bent toward him. Every creature watched in silence. Even Syria stood still, her eyes full of awe. Jack held the seed to the sky. It pulsed once, then exploded in light. The masters screamed as their ships caught fire, not from heat, but from memory. The forest sent everything back at them. The cries of children they silenced, the flames they once spread, the rivers they poisoned. They could not escape it. Their own crimes turned into vines that wrapped around their bones. Their machines rotted in seconds. Their laws turned to dust. And when it was over, silence returned. Real silence. Not fear. Not death. Just peace. Jack stood at the center of the forest. His body was glowing still, but softer now. The power of the tree god was fading, returning to the soil. The price was paid. Syria walked to him. "You did it," she said. "You gave the forest back its voice." He smiled. "No, we did it." She looked down at his hand. The mark was gone. "You're fading," she whispered. "I know," Jack replied. The merge was not forever, just long enough. Syria's eyes filled with tears. "You can't leave me again." Jack reached out, and placed a hand over her heart. "I'm not leaving. I'm just going deeper." And with that, he dissolved into green light, into wind, into leaves, into roots. His final words echoed through the forest. "Protect them. Tell them the forest remembers." Her soul, his choice. The forest was quiet now. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of death, but the kind of silence that follows healing. The kind that comes when wounds stop bleeding. When a song ends, but the echo still floats gently through the air. Syria stood in the middle of the whispering woods, though now they no longer whispered. The forest sang. Soft, ancient music drifted through the trees like wind playing on invisible strings. Every tree that had burned was alive again. Every root had regrown, stronger than before. Birds with glowing feathers soared above her, and small forest creatures peeked from the moss with wide, curious eyes. The planet had survived. But Syria was still breaking inside, because he was gone. Jack, brave, foolish, kind Jack, had given himself to the tree god. He had merged with its spirit, burned like a star, and then faded like morning mist. She touched her chest. His final words were still there, not in her ears, but in her bones. "Protect them. Tell them the forest remembers." And she would, forever. But something strange was happening now. Every morning, she woke with a strange warmth in her hand, a heartbeat that wasn't hers, a hum under the ground, a name on the wind. Syria. At first, she thought it was memory playing tricks. But it wasn't. It was real. Something of Jack had remained, not in the trees, but beneath them, deep in the roots, watching, waiting. And one day, the forest led her there. She walked without thinking. The path opened for her, the ground lit up with soft green pulses, guiding her like a heartbeat. It led her past the fallen statues, past the ruins of the Ark of Silence, past the place where Jack had first touched the glowing tree. There, beneath an ancient root split in two, she found a stone circle, small, simple, and glowing with soft green light. In the center, a seedling had grown, a tiny tree no taller than her knee, with silver leaves and a golden stem. She dropped to her knees, gasping. This was new life, but not ordinary life. She could feel his spirit in it. Not all of him, but part of him. The part that loved, the part that remembered, the part that had chosen her again and again. Tears streamed down her face. "You stayed," she whispered. The wind answered with a soft rustle. She placed her hand on the seedling. The mark that had once been on Jack's palm now glowed on hers. Light passed between them. Not words, but feelings. Hope, warmth, forgiveness. And then, a choice. A hidden root rose from the ground and curled into a circle of bark, a portal. Inside, she saw a different forest, a different sky, earth. She saw Jack's world, the places he had spoken of, blue oceans, tall buildings, children running, cities that sparkled at night. She saw humans, his people, laughing, crying, dreaming. But she also saw something more. A child, a small girl standing in a field of flowers, reaching out her hand. And her eyes looked exactly like Jack's. Syria's breath caught. Was this the future? Or the past? The tree seemed to whisper, "This is the path, if you choose it." She turned back to the seedling. Its leaves shimmered. Its light pulsed gently. Another path. If she chose to stay, she could raise the seedling, watch it grow, build a new world in the forest, become its guardian again. But she would never see his face again. Not in the wind, not in dreams, only in memory. Tears rolled down her cheeks. What do I do? The forest didn't answer with words. Instead, the seedling did. Its roots stretched forward, gently touching her fingers. And suddenly, she felt him. Jack, clearer than ever. His laugh, his kindness, his stubborn courage, and his voice. You always had the choice, Surya. I was just the reminder. She stood, wiped her tears, and looked at both paths, to stay or to follow, to guard the roots or to plant new ones elsewhere. Both choices were hard. Both were filled with love. She took a deep breath and smiled. The next day, the forest woke alone. The seedling stood taller now, bathed in sunlight. The stone circle lay silent, but peaceful, and in the breeze, one could almost hear a woman's voice say, "For ages, I was trapped in the tree, but his touch freed my soul. And now, I fly." Epilogue. Years passed. The forest became sacred again. No machines touched it. No wars reached it. People, humans and aliens, visited in silence, leaving flowers and seeds in the stone circle. They called it the place of return. Legends were told of a man who woke the trees, of a woman who once ruled the forest, of a love so strong it survived time. And deep beneath the soil, under glowing roots and humming earth, the seedling still grew, carrying both of them in its branches, forever.